right now, Bitcoin on exchanges is hitting 7 and 8 year lows because of the supply suffocation that we are seeing with public companies and nation states accumulating Bitcoin at some of the most aggressive rates we have ever seen. And what's really scary is that the amount of Bitcoin for sale is actually rapidly evaporating in a way that I think most people simply are not paying attention to. So today I want to have a look a little bit at how this supply shock is accelerating, because last week we covered this for you guys. In the past week, corporations bought 46,000 Bitcoin, but only 3,000 Bitcoin were mined. That's right. 43,000 Bitcoin was the deficit last week. And this is just looking at the public corporations. When we start considering in the amount of Bitcoin being bought by nation states and the ETFs, all of a sudden, when you run the numbers, there might not be any Bitcoin on exchanges for sale within the next year. And again, this is why, to Jake's comment, we should not be trusting exchanges like Coinbase. Because when the supply suffocation continues to accelerate, they're only going to be able to buy the Bitcoin off the exchanges. And what's going to happen is I think we're going to see an acceleration of this trend. Since September 2022, we've seen nearly 1 million Bitcoin disappear from the exchanges. So there's 3.3 million Bitcoin on exchanges in late 2022. Today, there's 2.4 million. It's 900,000 Bitcoin gone. And what's really interesting is this has happened when the price of Bitcoin's been going up. Have a look at the white line of the chart we're looking at right now. That is the price of Bitcoin. It's been going up. Now, this is interesting because normally in bull runs, what happens is we see the price go up and people actually, what do? They sell their Bitcoin. They send their Bitcoin to the exchanges. But all of a sudden, I think we're seeing something we haven't really seen before. I think we're seeing one of the first bull runs where we actually see coins stripped off the exchanges. This is crazy. I think this is a little bit unprecedented. I think it's because of the public corporate FOMO that we're seeing in Bitcoin today. This is another chart that really puts things into perspective for you guys. The amount of Bitcoin being bought by public corporations like MicroStrategy has been going absolutely parabolic over the past 6 months. I think we've really started to see a phase shift in how corporations are treating Bitcoin. We can also see this when we look at the number of public companies with Bitcoin holdings. It's going absolutely parabolic, and it is really not slowing down. Now, that's because when we jump on over to bitcointreasuries.net, what I find fascinating is right now, how many companies are on this website? 174. It's crazy. It really is crazy. But what I want to show you that I think is more interesting is what is happening to the rate of accumulation. So I showed you the rate of accumulation of MicroStrategy. What about Marathon? You can see we're kind of seeing a trend where these guys have really started to aggressively accumulate Bitcoin more since 2024. Since the ETFs came online, look what's happened. Look at this parabolic rise in mid-2024. This is Marathon, the second largest holder of Bitcoin. They've got 47,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. You can see something similar when we look at Metaplanet. Again, they've really increased their holdings pretty dramatically recently. In late 2024, early 2025. I think this is just a trend that I don't think is going to be slowing down. Why do I don't think it's going to be slowing down? Well, it's because of what Michael Saylor just recently said. Again, what do these public corporations know about Bitcoin that we don't know? I just mentioned Metaplanet, didn't I? Well, Who did Metaplanet recently hire as a very important role, a board sitter? What's his name? Eric Trump is on the advisory board to Metaplanet. What is the son of the president of America doing on the board of Metaplanet, a publicly traded company? Ask yourself the question, what do these public corporations know that we don't know? That's the question I want you guys to consider today. We've played this clip.
Bitcoin, if people in the rest of the world knew what I know and they understood and they agreed with me, Bitcoin would go to $10 million tomorrow. And if Bitcoin went to $10 million tomorrow, I want you to think about how you would feel and how your viewers would feel, because you would lose 20 years of stacking opportunity during which you get to buy at less than $10 million. So the difference between $10 million and 100,000, that's what you give up if the volatility goes away and people start to agree with you.
What do these billionaires know about Bitcoin that we don't know? That's the question I really want you guys to ponder today. Why, oh, why are these corporations aggressively buying Bitcoin in the face of the mainstream media trying to FUD us out of our Bitcoin positions? That's just something I really want you guys to think about today, because again, I always encourage you guys, just follow what the big money is doing. All of the big money, all of the large public companies, they are aggressively buying Bitcoin hand over fist. And we can see this is a pretty wild chart that I've never actually covered for you guys. I'm going to zoom all the way up on it. There's 3.15 million Bitcoin in treasuries, in public treasuries. I lost my cute little pie chart. There it is on the left-hand side of the screen. 3.15 million Bitcoin is sitting in treasuries. There's a big 1.3 million of those in the ETFs, who the last time I checked is still aggressively buying Bitcoin as well. So we can see if we jump on over to the flows of the Bitcoin ETFs, still ticking up, still moving. We're still seeing accumulation land here when it comes to the big boys, the BlackRocks. They're not slowing down. BlackRock has 527,000 Bitcoin. Oh, hello. I think there's a bit of a race going on here. How many does the GigaChat own? The GigaChat owns 528,000 Bitcoin. I didn't know that. It's an interesting little tidbit. Michael Saylor is racing Larry Fink to be the largest Bitcoin holder in the world. But I think the point here is clear. Big money is buying Bitcoin. What do they know that we simply don't? Cody G in the chat says, Uncle Larry let the cat out of the bag, and then it all started from there for the big boy stacking. I agree. Larry Fink changed everything. He even changed the anatomy of the last Bitcoin bear market. Now, again, there is right now. How many of you guys on this stream with me? I'm going to give you some inside baseball. I'm going to give you a little bit of secret sauce. There's 1,264 of you guys between Twitter and YouTube. And here's a little bit of inside baseball I want to show you for my next live stream that I've been thinking about making for you guys here for a little while. Well, I haven't been thinking. I've been actively making. It just takes me a while. These videos do take a while to prep, believe it or not. But what I think is interesting, I think the next Bitcoin bear market we're in, I think things are going to be a little bit different. I don't think we're going to get the opportunity to buy these low prices for very long when we do see these low prices. So there's obviously a couple of debates here about bear markets. Have the big boys like Larry Fink completely changed the bear markets? Okay. Are we still going to see 60 to 70% corrections in the price of Bitcoin? Who knows? Maybe. But what I feel a little bit more strongly about is when you actually have a look at the previous bear markets that I have in red, you can see typically we used to get a long amount of time to buy the bottom. If I were to get a little bit of a measuring tool up, having a look at the 2015 bear market, you pretty much got a year. This is about 300 days in this red box to buy Bitcoin under $200. You had multiple opportunities. You got the chance, 300 days, you got to buy Bitcoin under $300. Again, 10x higher. What I think is interesting here is that you got a lot of time to buy Bitcoin under $3,000. So again, depending upon how you measure this, you got around 150 days to buy Bitcoin under $4,000 if you just look at the 2018 bear market. 150 days is a lot of days. If you really want to measure this bear market in an interesting way, you could also say, look, hang on a minute, you also got the chance to buy Bitcoin under 4K in 2020. So again, I've shown you guys multiple sides of the story here. Technically, you got 480 days to buy Bitcoin under $4,000. I think the more fair way to accurately measure this is show that you had around 120, 150 days to buy Bitcoin under 4K in 2018. Now, what I think is interesting about this 2020 flash crash in 2020 is I think maybe this is what the bear markets are going to look like in the future. Now, I can certainly make an argument for why we might not see big 75% corrections, but something that, again, I don't feel super strong about that opinion, but what I do think is interesting is I think 2022 kind of showed us a glimpse into the future of what we can expect to see in Bitcoin bear markets. I think 20K was kind of like the natural bottom for Bitcoin. But you can see Bitcoin spiked down to $16,000, but look at how quickly it was there for. Bitcoin was there for, what's that, 2.5 months? Let's measure it. So that's 60 days. So that's much shorter than the 150 days you got in 2018 or the 300 days you got to buy cheap Bitcoin in 2015. So to the question in the chat, Larry Fink has changed things. I think he has. Larry Fink let the cat out of the bag, as Cody G said. And I do think maybe, just maybe, I just gave you guys a little bit of a glimpse into the future. Maybe we're going to see something different when it comes to bear markets. And that is also because of what All Night Hider has said here. The adoption curve has been historically normal, hasn't it, so far? Yeah, the adoption's been relatively low and slow. I think adoption is going to increase dramatically, which is why I'm much more bullish on Bitcoin and why I'm always sounding the alarm bell for you guys to accumulate your Bitcoin while you still can. If we do see this trend of supply suffocation continue, there's not going to be any Bitcoin on exchanges by 2026, 2027. So again, this is why I always encourage you guys to check out our show sponsors, the Bitcoin Well and Stampseed, and just really start to take your Bitcoin self-custody a little bit more seriously right now. Let's answer a couple of questions here. I think the God candles are coming, and I do think we're going to see much higher prices. I think we're going to see Omega candles much quicker than most people think. So an Omega candle is a $100,000 candle. For those who might be new and not understand, a God candle is a $10,000 candle. I think we're going to see both pretty rapidly. Thoughts on contributing to a Roth IRA, only buying IBIT and GLD? I don't know exactly how a Roth IRA works. Are you allowed to get your retirement money out of those? If you are not allowed to actually get your money out earlier, then sure, buying IBIT and GLD is an okay play, because most retirement funds invest your money into trash, which is why I think the whole idea of retiring in the traditional fiat sense is just a terrible idea. So again, I always encourage people to just liquidate their retirement holdings, pay the fee that you have to pay to liquidate your retirement accounts and put it straight into self-custody Bitcoin, preferably buying it anonymously, so you're not subject to any taxes or future wealth taxes that may or may not occur in your country. Just because Trump's the leader right now of America doesn't mean America will always have a great leader for America. But again, if you can liquidate your retirement account, highly recommend you do it, because I think retiring in the traditional fiat system, it's broken. This is why I always talk about the need to learn more about retiring in the Bitcoin system. And again, you don't know what percentage of the fiat supply you're going to own, because there's always going to be more money printed. This is why I think retiring on Bitcoin is just a superior way. Now, I actually filmed a video yesterday breaking down exactly how much Bitcoin you need to retire. As you can see, 1 day ago, Michael Saylor reveals how much Bitcoin you need to retire. I highly encourage you guys to check out that video. It's very rare that I actually spend some time making a video, but I spent a lot of time on that video. So if you do want to check it out, I'm going to put a link to that in the live chat after this live stream is finished. And I'm also going to put a link to that video up on screen somewhere around there that's going to reveal how you could retire on as little as 0.00375 Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong. I know how crazy that is, but check out the maths in that video to verify that crazy claim for yourself. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next live stream.